Financial Survival Network, helping you survive and thrive in the new economy. Go to CarrieLutz.com and sign up for 30 free micro trainings on financial survival.
1490 WGCH. This is Carrie Lutz, and you're listening to the Financial Survival Network, which is brought to you by Miles Franklin. They've been in business selling gold and silver for over 20 years, and I'm a customer because when you buy, they ship. For more information, find them on the web at milesfranklin.com or give them a call at 800-822-8080 and get a free quote. Hi, it's Carrie Lutz here live at Hard Assets New York in the Marriott Marquis in Times Square, New York. With me is someone who's a bit of a legend. You've seen his videos all over the place on YouTube. He's gotten millions of views. He goes by the name of Joe, a.k.a. SilverFuturist. Joe, welcome to the Financial Survival Network.
Thank you for having me.
Really good to have you here. So you started this YouTube channel, and that's pretty much your main presence on the web. Why'd you start it?
Well, there was news that was coming up that wasn't being talked about. I saw on YouTube other channels, and I was impressed, and I said, hey, I could do this, and I have my own commentary I want to add. So I started making videos very informally, and it's grown. And
how many videos have you posted altogether?
I have posted over 300 videos.
Wow, that's quite a lot of work. You had to spend a lot of time on it. Which one has been the most popular to date?
The one teaching about Islam and money. And that one surprised me because certain videos I think will be popular, but there are so few videos on the silver DRM and the gold dinar that this thing just exploded, and I still get a lot of views now.
Yeah, it's always amazing to me. Some of the shows that I think are on completely obscure topics that you're never going to be interested in, but that I'm interested in. I put them up there and get more views than I ever imagined. And other ones that I think are amazing hardly garner any interest. So your interest in the silver market, when did that start?
That started in the kind of after the bailouts, right? When the bailouts happened in 2008, I knew something was very, very wrong. This is not America. This is not capitalism. This is not freedom. The fact that these losses in the banks are going to the taxpayer, that is just so absurd. I can't. So I went and researched, and I found in the alternative media that there were truths out there that were not even being covered in the mainstream media. Right? For example, the Federal Reserve. I didn't realize it was not federal. I mean, that was the first thing. And then I looked into all these things, and I said, wait a second, this has been known for decades. But I have a degree in accounting, and a lot of these things about monetary theory I had no idea on. I have a degree in accounting and had all these finance courses. Didn't even know what money was, right? And I said, "Wow, I'm on a journey, and I'm going to share my journey with my listeners."
That's really great. And what's great is that you underwent the educational process with your listeners, with your viewers. We're all going through that process now of really trying to figure out what's going on, because we know. And you know, and I know that what the government is telling us, what the root of the problem is, that it's somehow a failure of free markets and capitalism. That's not true, is it?
It's not, because we don't have capitalism. One of the things I realized is that in order to have capitalism, half of capitalism is, there's the money parts. Half of every transaction is money. When the money is not a part of the markets, then you're basing your system on something that's not market-based. I mean, because the money we have is a synthetic debt-based artificial construct, and it's manipulated. The money supply is manipulated. The interest rates, the cost of borrowing money isn't the market rate. So right there, you have a huge distortion. This is going to cause huge crashes, huge booms, huge busts, independent of the market. The idea that you have a 0% interest rate is so absurd, because the real price of lending money is much higher. And that right there is not capitalism. We have a pseudo-capitalism. I mean, I go to the market and I buy stuff, whatever. But as far as the money supply goes and the money, that is not capitalism. And it hasn't been that way for a long period of time. It didn't start yesterday. And it didn't start 20 years ago. It started 100 years ago. But it was a process. And this process has fascinated me. And this really brought me to do the Silver Channel.
It's really so interesting that you say that, because when you loan money, there's supposed to be a risk factor, and you have great borrowers who are certainly going to pay back, like the U.S. government, because they can just print the stuff. And then you have Joe Sixpack, who pays 18% on his credit cards, gets a car loan for 12%, and all of that is absent from the way that money is priced now. And the fact is that because it's not backed by anything, you can just create unlimited numbers of units. And it kind of makes you feel like when you walk into a casino in Vegas and you know that every game is stacked against you, but at least in Vegas, the casinos have disclosed it. They've told you that you're going to lose, we're going to win over the long run. Government, the monetary system, is supposed to be an even playing field. But what's even about it now, Joe?
What is not even is the information. Because if you don't understand how it works, you're going to lose every time. But once you understand how it works, you can do well. 10 years ago, if you figured out how it works, gold and silver was a no-brainer. And silver going from $5, whatever, to, it's like 28 right now. I mean, if you had understood that, you would have had incredible gains. But if you didn't understand that, you have incredible losses. So basically, if you understand, it actually works in your favor, even though it's not fair. If you don't understand, it's going to work against you, and it's very unfair. And in my opinion, when things are unfair for a long period of time, there's going to be a reversion to the mean of fairness, and that means that the things that happen that were wrong, there's going to be consequences.
That's a great point. Not to brag, but in 1999, I had the opportunity to buy a small amount of gold at $282 an ounce, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I had no idea. I thought the economy was fine. I believed, and you believed, that the Austrians were a little bit of a fringe. They probably were right, but it seemed like the leadership, the economic leadership, Alan Greenspan, had figured out a way to beat the Austrians at their own game. So $282 an ounce, even at today's beat-up rates, it's gone up sevenfold. And then the Dow is pretty much flat for a decade. So you're absolutely right. There are opportunities, especially in the resource sector, because when the value of money becomes distorted like it is now, prices don't really reflect underlying values, which are determined by supply and demand. So what's the best way to find and to take advantage of these opportunities, Joe, after dragging on for a bit?
Okay. To find the opportunities, you have to understand how the money system works and what's going on. A huge part of that is the political input. Because what happened like in 2008, 2009, that was a political event, right? We were supposed to have the biggest deflation ever. And of course, if you understood what Bernanke said, it has helicopter speech, you knew that Bernanke was not going to allow this deflation to happen. He was going to print money and throw out helicopters. And because he's an important policymaker, you would say, okay, well, we know what's supposed to happen, but what intervention is going to happen? Bernanke had this incredible speech about helicopters, right? He hasn't changed his helicopter speech. Now, a lot of people, like in the Austrian School, are very critical of Bernanke, but he actually does keep his word. When he says he's going to throw money out of a helicopter, he means it. I mean, the guy when the guy says something, although he makes comments about gold, he goes, "I don't understand gold." Well, he's being honest, isn't he? I mean, maybe he doesn't.
I think he's being a bit disingenuous there.
But he says what he means. Like his official line is, "I'm going to throw money out of a helicopter." He's committed to that. His official line is, "I don't understand gold," and his policies have reflected that statement. Right? He makes policies as though he doesn't understand gold. He might personally understand gold, but all of his policies kind of reflect that he doesn't understand gold.
Yeah, and that is a great point, because that's why he's a bad politician, because he actually does what he says he's going to do, whether it's for the benefit of you, the economy, the country. Well, history is going to judge that, and I think rather harshly. But look, we're in the middle of a political cycle now, and I don't want to name names because to me it's irrelevant. When you vote, you just vote to change the face of government. So we're going to maybe have a different face of government. But the system that gave birth to this crony capitalism, fascistic economic system, corporativism, crony capitalism, call it what you like, it's not going anywhere until something major happens, is it?
Well, something major that happens, that's kind of the huge question is, what major things going to happen next? Major things are happening. They're going to happen. It's just that knowing when it's going to happen is kind of hard. So yeah, I'm not sure what major is going to happen next, but I want to talk about the Austrian school. When people ask you if I'm an Austrian or whatever, I kind of avoid that conflict discussion, because what happens is that these other mainstream economists, they're trying to categorize their opposition. So if you say Austrian, like the Krugmans have already got all their followers to think Austrians are discredited. Austrians know what they're talking about. So when people say, "Are you Austrian?" I say, well, I'm not sure what you mean there, but then I explain why I like gold. I explain why you don't have capital. I explain these things. I've got friends and acquaintances who are very big fans of like the establishment, like Krugman, and when you have a discussion, if they want to trap you into you calling yourself a name, right? So I say, well, I don't know what the Austrian School of Economics is, but I can tell you why gold is what's good about gold. Well, I can tell you why gold's important. So I just want to say is I try to avoid a lot of these categorizations that the people use.
Yeah, well, and there's a good reason for that, because Ludwig von Mises grew up in Germany, got out of there before World War II. He was a guest lecturer, I believe, at NYU, and he was never in the mainstream, never afforded the respect that a person like him was entitled to. Then you had Murray Rothbard, who was kind of an anarcho-capitalist who had some eccentricities that the establishment was really able to seize upon. But more importantly, what you're referring to is this tendency in society to not debate issues, but to debate stereotypes, cliches, and to marginalize through ridicule rather than through sound logic, right?
Exactly. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, if you wanted to talk Austrian economics, you go to the place where the real production is happening. Like the people in China, I'm sure they would, if you talk about sound money, they're like, yeah, the sound money is great. I'm making 75 cents an hour for these iPhones that these people in America are paying with pieces of paper for. I mean, imagine if I could make an iPhone and get paid in gold and silver. I think it's a different audience, because we're a worldwide market. So much of our stuff is bought in these other countries, like India, right? You don't have to talk about gold in India. They know. I mean, the people in India are buying gold. Even in China, at this conference, I've been hearing lecturers say how many of these Chinese people are saving in gold. Right now, even though this system, it's very imbalanced, in the Western countries, like I said, the dollar has been very beneficial to us as a nation in the short run. And I think what's happening is a lot of people go along with that is because they've seen all the incredible favors that this dollar status has given us. And they say, I want to be on the receiving end of those favors. And gold would stop those favors from happening. So I think that's why there's so much resistance. It's like the one party of Democrats, they see the system, we could use it for our best interest. Republicans say, well, we can use it for our good interest, because the military, whole military industrial complex, this dollar system is incredible for it. I mean, you get to buy things and use debt and paper that you don't have to pay back ever, and you get real stuff. I mean, that's just great for them. And then the other side says, oh, we have all these social programs we can fund with the dollar, quote, free money, and neither side's going to want to give that up, because they see the other side is wrong because they're using this fiat system for the wrong purposes. It's kind of like the Lord of the Rings. Whoever gets it's going to be corrupt, but each person has their own little vision of it. I could use this ring for my own personal power. I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here, but I mean that's kind of the analogy I'm using.
Yeah, well, it's really true. Is that the system serves the elite, it serves the vested interest, and the fact that it's no longer serving in many respects the public at large. At one time it was a dollar was as good as gold, sound as a dollar. Now we're in this era of unbacked currencies, paper, fiat currencies, and the world is on a fiat currency standard. People in China have lived through hyperinflation many times before. The last bout that the United States had was back around the Civil War, so it's problematical to make people understand what's going on. And the reason we haven't had that hyperinflation is for so many years the country traded on gold and free money. Well, Joe, thanks so much for being on the Financial Survival Network. So we can find your work on YouTube at Silver Futurist, right?
Exactly.